This bonus episode features Benjamin Hunt, director of IndieEye award-winning films Peaches, Jeepney, and Transient.
Stop the music. This bonus episode is all about Mr. Benjamin Hunt, who is a young director that I had the pleasure to speak with. He has submitted to IndieEye 3 times and come away a winner each time, sometimes with multiple awards. So in trying to get people in for interviews and, why do I even do this? Why would I do more than 1 episode a month? Because we're trying to have a community here where people who participate in IndieEye, when time permits, there's no special scheduling or buddy system or anything like that. It's like, you have time, I have time, we can work this out, here's the episode. But mostly, I want anybody else to listen to the experiences these people had, and hopefully that helps you in your journey. So Benjamin Hunt is going to join me shortly on this bonus episode that we recorded a while back. But before I start that, I need to tell any listeners that Dre and I, IndieEye Film Awards, have a significant and film festival altering announcement to make. And we won't keep you hanging long. I'm not holding things back as some form of clickbait at the moment. We're just trying to gather our thoughts on the situation. Now, everyone's fine. We're okay. Nobody's dead. No one's ill that I know of. But we're going to have something serious to talk about. And I hope we get the word out that, hey, if you've been in IndieEye, if you've listened to IndieEye, if you use Film Freeway to submit your films to film festivals, you are going to want to listen to the rest of this month of IndieEye. We're going to have this episode with Benjamin Hunt. I have a wonderful episode coming out with Trisha Arand from Beyond the Screenplay. We will absolutely have our 2022 annual awards episode. And in that annual awards episode, we will tell you what's gone on. Then we will go through and have our awards episode. And then after the awards episode, hopefully immediately after, we will drop a podcast that gives you some more behind the scenes stuff. At least try to be as transparent as possible to tell you what's happened between us and Film Freeway and how that's going to affect all of you filmmakers going forward. So I won't say more than that right now. This episode's going to be about Benjamin Hunt, but please tune in to the annual awards episode. We're going to have it out maybe sooner than we had originally planned because of how things have gone down, because we want to get some messages out to you and we want to get people awarded. But you're going to want to hear the last episode of IndieEye for 2022, which will follow the 2022 annual awards podcast. That's all I can say for now, guys. But let's listen to Benjamin Hunt talk about just kicking ass as a filmmaker. He submitted a short film called Peaches in December of 21. He snuck it in pretty much at the last minute. He scored himself Best Narrative Short, Best Cinematography, Best Original Music, Song or Score. He had a Best Actor that month in Martha Shaw, and Benjamin Hunt took home Best Director for this short film. Then he turned around in January of 2022 and submitted Jeepney, a Philippine Icon, a documentary short that he and classmates created that was absolutely beautiful and won Best Cinematography for that. And then he came back to us in June of 2022 with Transient, a wonderful, beautiful short film that won Best Narrative Short for that month, plus Best Sound Design, Best Cinematography. It got a Best Supporting Actor for Sam H. Clotter II. I mean, the kid is going places. And he would be the first to tell you that it's that team that he's been able to build and people he's been able to meet and find these other collaborative great artists that work with him to help him create these wonderful shorts, these projects. And I'll let him tell you, but I just want to emphasize what I always try to stress is that, you know, it's cool if you're starting out as an indie filmmaker, you're like, hey, my buddy Dave is a person and he has 2 arms. He can hold a boom pole, which is true sometimes. But it's, you know, that kind of mentality will get you a product. But if you go that extra mile and really work to find people who love this as much as you do, and maybe they specialize in lighting or practical effects, you know, makeup, costuming, production design, anything like that. When you can find those people, it is just gold. Treat them well, feed them well on set, tell them how much you love them, and I hope you're able to find those kinds of people. So here is Benjamin Hunt. And now I am joined with Mr. Benjamin Hunt, who has accumulated, I think, 10 awards across 3 submissions within the last year with IndieEye. Benjamin, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing so well. How are you, Matt?
Well, I'm fantastic. I'm so excited to get to talk to you and just kind of figure out how you're making this magic happen. You submitted Peaches in December. I believe Jeepney, a documentary, was submitted in February, and then earlier this summer you submitted Transient and just collected laurels for everything across the board. You know, what is that feeling like when you're just bringing home all these laurels to everybody?
Well, it feels awesome. First of all, thank you for having me on, and thank you so much for featuring these films in your podcast. It has meant so much to be able to share these films with people and have people talk about them. I got to say that this podcast especially just stands out compared to other film festivals because rarely do you hear them really talk it out, break it down, and I also want to talk with the filmmakers. So it's been pretty great, and it's been really fun to share with family and friends.
Cool.
But it has been pretty crazy since starting festival runs for each of these films. I was kind of shocked by the response, especially to Peaches.
Really?
Yeah. I think Peaches now has been in over 30 festivals completely.
Wow.
And it's just so exciting to screen it at places. I think just a month and a half ago, it was screening in New York City, where right down the street from where my sister lives, and she got to go on my behalf and go watch it in an actual theater with people and see people's reactions. Yeah.
That is so cool.
It is so cool. She was seeing people tear up and react to especially the ending of that movie, and it's so cool seeing people really respond.
Now you had to know. First of all, thank you for saying such kind things about IndieEye and the podcast, and we just feel the same because it's just not possible to even do this if no one even wants to submit or no one wants to engage with us or nobody even cares. So I mean, it's filmmakers like yourself that make what we're doing fun and I hope inspirational for others. So thank you for participating so many times and giving us quality. Now, when you finished Peaches, when you rendered that final version, you had to know you had something special there, right?
Well, you hope so. I got to be honest though, after you watch it 300 times in the editing room, you kind of forget. and you're not sure. So
That's fair.
that's kind of what it's like. Same thing with Transient 2, which is also an emotional film. Both of those, when it actually got down to rendering it and submitting it for the screening at my film school, I kind of forgot and I wasn't sure. I just was really crossing my fingers hoping that people would really resonate with it.
Well, can you describe the moment you knew you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Totally. Well, there's a couple things. First, I just have to mention, because I think it's hilarious, I think there's a lot of times in my childhood where my dad would introduce me to a movie way before I should have been introduced to it. So I think...
Right.
Exactly. I think the best memory of this is probably seeing The Shining at 7 or 8.
Wow.
Not a movie I'd really recommend for that, and that's probably why I want to be a director and why I think all directors have to be a little messed up in the head, right? So it tracks back to this. And I remember watching that, and we kind of made a deal that if there was ever anything really disturbing or gory that would come up, he would fast forward. So I don't really know what the purpose of watching the movie was if you're missing those moments, but I remember we got to a part in the movie where you could tell something was going to happen, so he starts fast forwarding, and you can kind of see the frames as it's going forward, and right. I'm trying not to pay attention, and right when he clicks play, he thinks it's at the end of this scene. It hits play, and it's right as that guy gets the axe in the chest, right in his heart.
Oh, God. Oh,
and
my gosh.
It could not have been worse timing. So I think it was experiences like that made me really like film and just exposed me to really good movies, but sometimes really, really mature movies at a young age.
Right.
And then I think truthfully where I really wanted to become a filmmaker was in 2010, there was a blizzard in Virginia where I'm from. And we had maybe a week off school, and my friend and I found a camcorder that I think his grandmother owned. And we just started filming YouTube videos and little sketches and skits and short films. And I think it was that experience, plus my love for movies growing up before that it really all culminated. And I think it was that moment in 2010 where I knew I wanted to be a director.
I think that's very relatable. I mean, no, I know for me personally, my mother had me watch Poltergeist way before I should have been watching Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And it scarred me. She's like, wasn't that a great movie? And I'm like, why did you make me watch that? And now it's a movie I treasure. But parents are really instrumental in a young filmmaker's development by showing us these movies,
Completely, yes.
So you go to film school. Talk to me about where you went and how has film school fostered your growth, and was it different than what you expected?
Yeah, well, so I went to Chapman University. It is in Orange County, California, completely on the other side of the country from where I'm from, in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. Mm-hmm. And, it was a lot different than what I thought. You see in the advertisements that you're constantly making movies and they have all of this equipment and they really show that off. And that's absolutely an aspect of it. But I think the most important part of film school was the people you meet and work with, and just the way it forces you to constantly practice, especially writing. It's not just the on-set time that helps, and it's not the fact that they have really good equipment that you get to experiment with. It's not that really helps. And I think overall my experience at Chapman was weird because, COVID hit when I was maybe a year and a half in, and completely changed how we could film and make these movies going forward. It was really restrictive and it was really difficult, rightfully so. We had to be safe, but it was a great experience. I just have to say, I love Chapman, and I recommend that people go to film school. I think it's really important. By no means do I think you have to go to film school, but it was a great experience, and I think if you just really take advantage of the connections you make, and you're constantly hungry to learn and make things even outside of school, but with the people you know within the school, that's really where it's going to make a difference and where it's really going to be helpful.
Well, and in doing that and in submitting to IndieEye, the projects you've done have been highly collaborative. Are you a person who kind of gravitates toward working with people, or do you find that challenging?
Definitely. I definitely love collaboration, and I don't think it's a total challenge for me because I just love talking and I love spending time with people. So it really works out well. The job is perfect for that. I think, in the cases of these projects, I love just giving a call to other crew members and talking things out. I'm not even one to really text or email. I love just calling people or meeting up with them, figuring out solutions. And I just love that. I think that's what really draws me to film in general, is that collaboration and getting to spend time with other people and being able to problem solve together. It's totally necessary. And I think you can tell when there's other people, at least kind of at my level, like in film school and leaving film school, you can tell when people don't like that and when it's challenging, and sometimes they can really adapt to it, or sometimes they're just really bad at communicating and could be rude. And I think that's
me.
Shows. That's you.
You described me. I'm a terrible director, terrible at communicating. And then I just come across as angry all the time. So I feel so sorry for the people who work with me. But that's great that you have that kind of an open, collaborative personality. So when you're filling these crew roles, what are you looking for in a person who you want to join, the team to make a film?
Yeah, well, I think the thing is to look right around you, and there's so many talented people right around you. I think, for example, Scott is a good friend of mine. He's my cinematographer. Ashby is my girlfriend. She's my production designer. And wow. I think with the two of them especially is they're so talented in multiple ways. Scott, who knows so much about cameras and lighting, also knows a lot about production design and really appreciates that, because that goes into making the image what it is. And Ashby, who does the production design, really appreciates cinematography and color, and the way that they both complement each other creates the image you see. I think this is also important with Charlie Sun, who did the music for both Peaches and Transient. He really understands writing and directing to a level where he knows exactly where to put these music cues. I only have to help him a little bit along the way in showing him what I want, but he knows exactly where those emotional beats are and where the music cues can go to make things most impactful. So
wow.
I think that's the way that it's worked out so well thus far, is that every crew member that has helped me is a jack of all trades. They completely understand almost every role on set, and they're so talented. So it all just comes together and really, really flows.
That's very important. It's nice when you can have people on the team that are familiar with what the other departments are trying to accomplish and what they're responsible for, so that you can help each other out and just make a better product. That's wonderful to have. These relationships that you've developed, did this all come from going to film school? Were you all there together?
We weren't. It's kind of, I think this is kind of going into what I was saying before of, just meeting as many people as you can in film school, but also just in your surrounding area. For example, Charlie doesn't go to Chapman with us, or he didn't go to Chapman with us. I found him online. He was reaching out to a lot of Chapman students saying that he loved to do music and that he was a composer, and that's how I found him. Ashby, my wonderful girlfriend and production designer, I met her in elementary school.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's a long time connection, and she just happens to be incredible at production design, and is out here and attended Chapman. And
wow.
Scott, who I did meet at Chapman, that's an example of meeting someone in film school and just immediately clicking and knowing that we should work together, because we felt like we were on the same page. So not all of these crew members are just other Chapman students. You really got to look around you and find that. But luckily, it was easy for me. All of these people are incredible, and I'm just lucky to have found them to help me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as I always say, and I stole it from somebody else, I don't remember, but casting is directing. And you have done an excellent job at casting for Peaches and for Transient. Can you tell me about your process in casting and how you found Martha Shaw, who stars in Peaches? How do you go about that?
Yeah, well, you're totally right that casting is directing. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, in the case of Martha, I mean, she is just incredible, just a total natural talent. She went to Chapman with us, actually. I know she plays a young girl in Peaches. She's older than me. When we filmed Peaches, I think she was 21 or 22.
Wow.
And yeah, in finding her, when I was writing Peaches and I was in class, I remember seeing Martha in a few other films, some of which where she would play younger, and everyone just kept telling me, Martha, she's an actor at Chapman, she would be perfect for this. And the reason that is because filming during COVID, we weren't allowed to film with anyone under the age of 18. It was just a strict rule that they put in place when COVID hit, just as a safety precaution. And
okay.
It was honestly at a point where Peaches would maybe not have been able to have been made, because I just knew I couldn't shoot with anyone under 18, and that was going to be really difficult given that the story is about a kid. So just with casting, I think the big thing was just meeting with Martha, and then in the case of Transient, meeting with Grant and Sam, the stars of that one, and really talking with them, seeing what their style is, how they communicate best, and ultimately just getting really lucky that they're all really incredible. And that just completely made my job easy.
Well, one thing directors... one thing I've experienced myself, and I've heard several directors say, is that directing is like 10% directing and 90% problem solving. And when you're in production, it's just everything's so, at least it seems to me, everything is just flying at you at a completely different speed, and there's all sorts of challenges. Now, you obviously had these external challenges during the pandemic and rules placed upon you, and you're not in class, you're not doing the whole experience that you thought you were going to have. But while in production, can you talk about what your biggest challenge may have been and how you got through that?
Yeah. Well, I think a good example of this would be when filming Transient. I mean, it was crazy. We were in the middle of downtown LA, and in this kind of warehouse loft apartment place that I was renting, and there were like helicopters flying over us. It was the Super Bowl while we were filming. So everyone's got their TVs on and you can hear that. We were worried about making sure we were out on time because it was right around when the Super Bowl was finishing, and the Super Bowl was happening in Los Angeles at SoFi last year. So
right.
It was crazy. And then after, it was just crazy. So that was just an example of so much was going on. It was so loud, and trying to do these emotional scenes while you have helicopters flying by, and it was just so chaotic. That's just an example of that. Luckily, nothing major has gone wrong though, so I don't have
That's
some
good.
hilarious, like crazy example. Yeah, it's good. It's good. But well, I have another one. I think this is interesting, and it kind of will make you look at Peaches a little differently. You were talking about external factors like COVID affecting the set. And one of the biggest rules we had was we could only shoot in one location per day. So we had 2 locations. It was where the scout meetings are, which was some church. And then we had the neighborhood home scenes. And because we only had a few days to shoot the film, we were told that if we were going to make the movie, all of the house scenes, whether it was the more expensive fancy house or her smaller house that is kind of falling apart, when she's knocking on all those doors and walking in the neighborhood, we were told that we could only be at one location, and that was a strict rule. So this is kind of an interesting example of location scouting. We found a guy who owned a small, old little house that was perfect for Eliza, the main character, to live in. He also just happened to have built a really cool-looking, nice, fancy house right next to it.
Wow.
And then he also happened to own like a little duplex place right next door, and he had all these extra doors because he built his house. He had all these extra doors that we were able to fake like they were actual houses and have her knock on, but they're just loose doors that were sitting in his shed.
Wow.
And all the scenes where she's walking around the neighborhood is just right in front of his house, right on the side of his house. We're all right within this little, maybe 2-acre lot that just happens to have like 4 houses on it.
Boy, did the stars align for you.
They
Jeez.
did. That wasn't even problem solving. That was just straight luck. So that's an example of a challenge that we really had to solve. And it's just funny because when you watch the movie, you don't really realize, but so many of the scenes, the camera was just flipped around. It looks like a completely different place, like, a different house in the neighborhood, but it's just right next door to the neighbor's house. We're just on the sidewalk right there, or just out right in the street. We really did not move far for anything.
Well, that is what filmmaking's all about. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, where does Benjamin Hunt find inspiration when he's trying to create things? When you're thinking up ideas and everything, where do you go for inspiration?
Totally. Well, I mean, first I go to movies I like. I think with Transient, one of my favorite animated movie, Inside Out, it takes a lot of inspiration from that. You have these marble-looking orbs that you can look into and hear sounds out of, and that's just an example of me looking at films I love and wanting to take inspiration from that. But I can't not share that so much inspiration just comes from my own life or a family member's life. Peaches is completely, it says based on a true story in the beginning, and that's because it is a total, completely true story of my dad growing up. So when he was young, his family was very poor, and they didn't have a lot of food. There was a point where he tells the story. He was a Boy Scout, and they were doing a canned food drive for people in need in the community. And him and his brothers looked around the house, and sure enough, they had barely anything to give. Maybe some milk, and they found a can of peaches, and they donated it to the troop. And that was maybe their last piece of food in the entire house. So that is completely true what happens in the movie.
Wow.
And sure enough, and this is a spoiler for the film, but a week or so later, someone showed up at their door with a huge box of canned goods, and they had qualified to receive that. And in that box was their can of peaches that they had
Wow.
donated to the food drive. So that was an example of, just an amazing story that just happened to my dad and was told to me, and I thought, this is too good not to make.
Well, and it's such a beautiful point because I'm a firm believer in if you put good out there, it's going to come back to you in some form. It may not be in the next 5 minutes or the next year, but the more good you put out there, the more will come back your way. So I love everything that was done with Peaches. And just to kind of go back to Martha Shaw, who does not have a line in the film.
Yeah.
How was it working with an actor? Obviously, she's really good, but how did you communicate with her without having lines of dialogue? How did you instruct her or direct her in each scene to emote the way that she did? How did that work out?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, again, she's just incredible. You really only need to give her limited direction because she was just nailing it, especially when we're running around trying to film this movie in only a few days. But
Right.
the biggest thing is just visual storytelling is the best. You don't need dialogue, and she just has this look, and she just knows exactly what to do. We kind of, I mean, she read the script, and we kind of would talk about how Eliza was feeling at this moment, and we didn't even, what I think some other people would have done is maybe have written dialogue for her, and then to kind of think about what the character would say, and then would have removed it. I think that would have been interesting, and it's something that I thought about, like maybe write this as if she does talk, and then remove it and see how that goes.
Sure.
But no, we didn't even do that. It was just talking about how the character feels and where she's at, and it just completely flowed. I mean, that's the most that I can say, is that Martha was just so talented, and only after talking with her for a bit in between scenes and in between takes, she was just completely flexible and could give any type of performance. We would do one, and then we would talk, and the next one would be a little heightened emotion-wise. We were playing around with exactly how this kid would kind of like cope and react to the things around her. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say, is she's incredible, and casting is directing.
Is
And
directing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she conveys everything so well, and it says a lot about you as well, because you are ultimately in control of how this comes across on screen. So you had the vision of what you were looking for. You made sure you got that, and I respect that very, very much. It's a masterclass in subtext, really, with Peaches, because so much is conveyed using so little dialogue, and in Martha's case, none. So, I mean, and that's something you did with just a handful of great people and wonderful ideas and no money. So if you had any budget that you wanted, what kind of project would you most want to make?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think I'll just go like really out there, and I think I would do, it wouldn't even be a narrative film. I think I would do a documentary. As you know, I had submitted Jeepney to IndieEye,
Right.
and I love documentaries. I would probably do some sort of travel documentary that's just shot beautifully, shot like a narrative film. A good example, an example of one I would love to do is, have you seen My Octopus Teacher?
No.
Well, it's a great documentary. I think it's on Netflix, and it's about this guy who basically befriends an octopus. And the film looks great. It's filmed underwater. I think he's in maybe like right off the coast of South Africa, and the environment is just stunning, and it's so moving. That's an example of a great documentary, something that I would love to make, and not necessarily high budget, but just, there's so much that goes into making a travel documentary and making it look good that there just needs to be money there. So I think that's what I would do. I don't know where, but I just love meeting new people, and I love traveling, and all of that wrapped up with storytelling and making a documentary just sounds so fun. So that's what I would do.
Very cool. Well, what advice would you now give to a young Benjamin Hunt if he couldn't go to film school?
Well, I don't think that's a terrible situation, because you really don't have to go to film school. And again, don't get me wrong, I love Chapman, and I think people should go to film school if they can afford it. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the time, film school is just prohibitively expensive, and that's just how it is and how it's become, and that's unfortunate. But this is the advice I would give. So many of the people that work on these student film sets don't even go to Chapman or a film school. I think what is huge is just really practicing your writing, directing, making a lot of stuff, and then talking to other students and people who are in film school who are getting these opportunities to really make films in a professional set environment, and lending your hand to them, because I think some of the best crew members we've had on these Chapman films are just other young people, whether they're in high school or just out of high school. They just love movie making, and they want to be on set. And that, I think, is key. So if a younger Benjamin Hunt couldn't go to film school, I would say go meet and befriend people in film school, people just making stuff, and just go work on it. Go film, continue to practice your writing, make your own stuff, but make those connections. And there's just so many opportunities. I mean, even outside of film school, when I wasn't on a film school set, I was on a music video set, or even production assisting on a feature set, just completely putting yourself out there and saying yes to as many opportunities as you can gets you pretty much the same connections and the same practical on-set experience. But then, of course, it's really on you to really practice your writing and making your own stuff and really challenging yourself in other ways too. Yeah.
Well, that's really great advice. And I think, there's always a kind of a debate going on in the film community with, do you need film school? Do you not need film school? And for the longest time, I heard, if you want to learn about the history of filmmaking or the history of film, go to film school. If you want to be a filmmaker, take the money you would have used going to film school and make your first film or your first 10 films. But I think there are pros and cons to both. And I think you have absolutely shined a light on the best aspect of being able to attend a film school is some of the connections you can make. Like, all the technical stuff is great. You can also find that stuff on YouTube nowadays. But the people you meet, and you're so much more likely to meet people who are truly passionate about filmmaking. I think, some of the some of the most passionate filmmakers I've met have never gone to film school. And one of the least passionate filmmakers I have ever met went to 2 film schools. He's made 1 film. And it was right out of film school, and it's been, over a decade since there was any more movement. But I think, and that's okay too if the passion isn't burning within you to make a film. I want to surround myself with people who don't even think that not being on set is an option. I like to take a look at who actually showed up to do work, and they know it's going to be a 16-hour day, and we'll all be miserable by the end. But who did it because they just have to? And I think you're more likely to find those people probably at film school. Now they're everywhere. Yeah. But that's a great opportunity to make those connections. But also, just as you said, be aware of who's around you. And just to add to that, because I'm on the topic, you can also go to your local theater troupe or productions and find who's doing tech for theater and all of that. Those type of people are probably also interested in working on a film set. So just to add that on.
Totally.
But yeah, it's great that you had that you were able to go, that you made good connections. You clearly have learned very well, and you've just applied the natural talent that is within you. And I think it's that's looking pretty good for Benjamin Hunt going forward, I'd say.
Which brings me.
You're absolutely welcome. And what I want everyone to know now is what's next for Benjamin Hunt. And where can people follow your journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's think. So, right now I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm doing it. I'm an assistant at a talent management company in Beverly Hills.
Nice.
So that's fun, and it's challenging, and you learn so much. And I think what's really cool is you really see. You see other people, writers and directors who are managed by the managers at your company, and you get to see how they're doing pitches and meetings, and I'm learning a lot there, and just on a complete grind every week there, and working hard, and that's what I'm doing right now. But don't worry, I'm still wanting to write and direct, and still working on that, and I think. Not too long, I'm going to be writing and continuing to make films, and you'll see me out there. You can see me on, well, first off, I think my Instagram, which is benhunt10, just at benhunt10. You will absolutely see me doing stuff on there, and if you just look up Benjamin Hunt online, you'll find my my website where I'm always posting the newest thing that I've made. So that's what I'm up to now. I'm just out here in LA. Living the dream, entering the industry, being an assistant, writing and practicing and meeting people, and that's how it's been. And it's been fun so far, and I'm really excited to see where it takes me.
So Ben, you're saying that nobody came to your house, knocked on your door, and said, "I'm going to give you a break." You're out there making it happen. Is that
totally
what you're saying? Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
Can people see Peaches or Transient or Jeepney at this time?
Yeah, well, so if you, my website, which is kind of my resume, it's benjaminlandonhunt.com. If you just look up Benjamin Hunt, I think it should pop up. You'll see my website. I know Jeepney's on there to watch. Peaches very soon is going to be completely public and on there to watch. Transient right now is entering the film festival circuit, so it's a little harder to find, but if anyone wants to watch it, I mean, just message me or email me and I'll send you a link. I want to share it with a lot of people. It just so happens that for film festival runs, you have to be so secretive and you got to keep it private, but I really just want to show people, so text me.
Well, and I'll definitely link I will link everything I can in the description box of this episode. Ben, is there anything that I didn't ask that I should? Is there anything you'd like to say that you didn't get a chance to say?
Oh my goodness. Well, maybe a couple things that I'll say real quick.
Please.
Another place you can find me is, like I said, when I was 10 and 10 or 11, I started making films. I was posting all these onto YouTube, so you can make it a challenge. You can go look and try to find those. I made one. I'll just throw a title out there called Kidnapped, one of my first short films that is totally embarrassing now, but just so fun now that it's, oh my gosh, almost like 12 or 13 years ago. Kidnapped, I posted that. It got like 40,000 views on YouTube. Wow. I was blown away. I was just in elementary school. So that's out there if anyone wants to go see really early stuff. Also, I just want to gotta say thank you to everyone who's like supported me up to this point. The reason I'm able to be out here and be doing what I want to do wouldn't be without the love and support of my parents, my mom and dad, Amy and Dave Hunt. Yeah, so I got to throw a thank you out there to them because without them supporting my dream of wanting to direct, I just wouldn't be doing it if they didn't really, support me and always help me. So
absolutely,
big thank you to them, and then. Again, huge thank you to Chapman University. Do not get me wrong. You do not have to go to film school, but film school is still incredible. I thought it was incredible. I miss it. I wish I could go back. I mean, I guess I could go get a graduate program, right? Couldn't I go get a master's? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't see why not.
Why not? I miss it. I love it. I was Chapman University especially helped me so much. So many great professors. There, the dean of the film school there, Stephen Galloway, is incredible. He has been our dean for only a couple years, and he's just so helpful, and he loves meeting with students and just meeting with everyone. And I loved it so much, and I learned so much, and I would not be well prepared without Chapman. They have completely kind of set me up well and have really made me feel confident about leaving college and going into Hollywood. So, yeah, really excited.
Well said. Well, you are a man full of gratitude, and I think that's very special. But I think it's also extremely important that you're working as hard as you can to achieve your dreams. You're not satisfied with, 10 laurels from IndieEye and calling it a career or waiting for someone to give you your break. You're out there trying to make it all happen. I think that's an incredibly valuable attitude and drive to have. So thank you, Benjamin Hunt, for taking the time to speak with our little IndieEye Film Awards festival.
Yeah.
And I certainly look forward to seeing what's next from Benjamin Hunt.
Absolutely. Well, you'll see it first. Don't worry. I'm gonna keep submitting to you guys. I love hearing your thoughts. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. This is so cool that you guys do this every month, and then you do these bonus interview episodes. It's so fun listening, and you guys are really doing something cool. And it really just having you guys host this. There's this personal touch that you guys have to the film festival circuit and world, and it's just so fun to be a part of. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that. All right, Benjamin Hunt, we will look forward to what comes next. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And I can't express enough how much it means to me to be able to have these conversations with filmmakers and give them a little bit of a spotlight. We don't have a huge reach here. We know that. But it gives them an opportunity to just talk about what they love, because we get so few opportunities to do that in a public forum like this. So thanks to Ben for coming on. Thanks to you for listening. And as a reminder, Dre and I, IndieEye Film Awards, we have a massive game-changing announcement coming soon. Check out our next interview with Trisha Arand from Beyond the Screenplay. That's dropping soon. We will then have our 2022 annual awards episode, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on at the start of that. And then we will have a episode you don't want to miss following that. So hope you guys are out there creating. Thanks for listening.
Find more information about our guest in the description box of this episode. Thanks for listening to this bonus episode of the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.